16, top 32, and he's looking to push forward a little bit further here now. Might be an uphill climb given the matchup here for him, but these prize cards not terribly in the way.
Yeah, of course, we've seen a lot of the Jellicent's Gardevoird deck on stream this weekend. This deck list does not feature that. It features the Frillish, the one copy, still very solid with Oceanic Gloom, but it's really leaning into the traditional style. When the Refinement Kirlia rotated, this is the direction people went towards building this deck. You use that combination of the Drifloon, boosting its HP with the Bravery Charm, and then Monkey Dory and a lot of Psychic Energies gets the rest done for you.
Yep, and on the other side for Liam, he switched up the list a little bit as well. Has that End Darmanitan, a 2-2 line this time around, so maybe we could see some assaulting of the bench. But here we are underway, asymmetric cut in Las Vegas.
Feels like when we're at this point, you know, players already have that top 8 playmat guaranteed. They're a win away from a medal, but there's a huge jump in championship points as well in this spot. This is what some would consider an even bigger match than maybe top 8 to top 4. There is a lot on the line here for these players.
And you've been playing so many rounds to get to this point, and sure enough, you have another great player in front of you. Just makes you want to play even better as you move forward. And for Neo, he's starting off with that nest ball, gets a look through the deck, and he's going to find out some pretty good news. Those prize cards you can manage.
Does start the Pheasantipity EX can always be a liability in these circumstances. And one thing that has changed about the Zoroark list, like you were mentioning, that Darmanitan, a new inclusion. This is sort of how the deck was originally built when Journey Together was released. It really leaned heavily into this Darmanitan angle, and then Liam sort of started this shift away from it, into the Reshiram, now having that as an option. What does bringing this card back allow this Zoroark deck to do in a matchup that would already be favored without this card?
Yeah, well, when you just think about what this gives you access to, you only had 1 or 2 attacks beforehand with the En's Reshiram. Now you get to open it up with the Flame Body Cannon. If your opponent ever really takes those additional prizes, you can jump forward with that reversal energy and just wipe out some boards. So there's a great chance we could see that, but honestly, with this deck, you don't expect that as much. You have he's made some changes that typically go towards other matchups. So even though he loved playing against Gardevoird, these changes don't help him.
And what a start here for Liam. Has 1 copy of Arvid and 1 copy of Technical Machine Evolution and just opens with the Arvid on turn 1 going second. You cannot ask for more. We'll at minimum be seeing Technical Machine Evolution evolve up 2 Zoroarks into play, and that is an absolute nightmare situation if you are a Gardevoird player staring down some fast aggression on turn 2 from a dark-hitting monster.
Yeah, you really expect to see your opponent have that slower line, maybe find that Buddy Puffin and try to get a couple of these Pokemon out, maybe that Serrano trying to find those evolutions and get the Zoroarks into play. Instead, if they're staring you in the face, you know it's inevitable that there will be some attacks coming in the near future.
And that's what's so interesting about this list, is that was the engine Liam had played for the last regionals with the Serrano to search out EX Pokemon. We've gone full Lily mode, and it seems a lot of other players are understanding the power of this card. No way to search out the EXs other than, you know, an Ultra Ball, just playing that 1 copy, really relying off of these early Technical Machine Evolutions and just funneling through the deck, because as we've seen through the history of Zoroark GX and Zoroark EX, if you get 1 into play, the whole squad is coming. They're going to start evolving as well.
Yeah, and this might speak to an understanding of more of the Gardevoird players switching over to the Frillish style. You just don't need as many item cards to get the ball rolling. Instead, give yourself maximum odds for that Lilies to draw you 8 cards over and over and over again. Eventually, you will find the trades, and then items become fodder.
Speaking of fodder, really having a little bit of a tough time deciding what to discard. Does have to get rid of that Darmanitan and the Boss's Orders, both cards that are extremely valuable, but at an absolutely excellent cost. You're going to be getting yourself all of these parts to search, including that Lily's Determination for next turn. The Artisan will be seeing double Zoroark come into play, and if he chooses to, can even bench the Darmanitan, which will be the choice off the Artisan, since it can't be grabbed through that Buddy Puffin.
Yeah, little Darmaka joining the party here, and the Zoruas coming along as well. I don't expect to see Darmanitan just yet, as the trades are much more important.
Darmanitan is only a 1 copy in this deck. Or it's actually 2, excuse me. We saw Piper play this 2-1 line, so it's a little bit different, but really just investing more into this Darmanitan, and it's really going to have a lot of value in this matchup, because just by that Darumaka being here on the bench turn 1, Neo's got to be very careful of a potential boss Zoroark KO on double Kirlia and a Ralts on the bench. These Kirlias do have 100 HP now, and that is a nice effect to have, especially when you're staring down sniping damage.
Well, for Neo, it's starting things off with the Iono, a couple Pokemon down as well, and the Team Evolution. Really reliant on finding an energy card here. It's not asking for much, but I don't see it yet. Do you want to go digging with a Mew down?
Mew is just absolutely the delicious treat for the Zoroark. You cannot put that card in. You can't even copy Night Joker because you've got no ends Pokemon on your bench. It really does not provide the value, and the bench is already clogged.
Wow.
Just going to have to pass the turn, and that is a big miss for Neo in a matchup that's already so tough. Zoroark from the hand, attachment, evolve. Lily, we haven't even traded or used Artisan yet, and we're going to be able to use that Artisan right now for the ends Reshiram. There is the potential here, Kyle, for a knockout on the Fezandipiti if there was a card, you know, like that Binding Mochi. Interestingly enough, though, looking at the list, has opted to go for some different tool inclusions, mainly that Power Glass, which does pair very nicely with the Darmanitan.
Right. If you're focused on trying to incorporate those additional damage to the bench, take those knockouts when possible, then Power Glass lines up so well for you. You're discarding those energies, and they can start to join right back onto that Pokemon whenever you need them. And this setup, not only does he see 8 cards with the full double evolution and energy, he has triple trade to go along with this.
This is any Zoroark player's dream. Honestly, the game is maybe not as fun as it is when you just get to draw 6 cards every single turn.
Well, it's certainly much nicer when you don't have to rely on the low hit points of Fezandipiti to get you there. And this is what we see so often from Liam, just a giant hand to go along with this, and so many resources. And tossing reversal energy, I think he's making a signal here that he's not going to be losing a lot of points of this game.
Zoroark does have that potential. You know, it does play behind a lot of the game, but it's more than capable of putting aggression on. As it stands right now, Fezandipiti not in range of being KO'd, can still take a little bit of damage from the Reshiram. Looks like it will just be a Virtuous Flame, 170 damage, so Fezandipiti feeling a bit of the heat. Could potentially be a target later down the line with a Flame Body Cannon since it just ate 170 damage.
I mean, this is so clean. This Pokemon had a hard time moving last turn, so put a bunch of damage onto it, have it lined up for eventual turns, and you don't really get a great benefit from copying the Darmanitan using Flame Body Cannon here to take out a Ralts, because you want to put that same amount of pressure on this turn. If you have Boss's Orders, Curlia, Ralts, that's exactly the 2 prize cards you'd rather have.
With this Ultra Ball for Gardevoird does signal a rare candy in the hand, but still, no energy cards showing up to class here for Neo. You really want to see those as your discards from Ultra Ball. It just has become so much harder lately with how these decks have been built to consistently discard those Psychic Energies if you're not finding those Earthen Vessels.
It's slightly unfortunate here. Seeing multiple copies of Iono instead of the Lily's Determination. He's only seen 6 cards, and those 6 cards just aren't getting him nearly as far, and then he's left with this decision of, you can try to limit your opponent's hand, but they're going to trade all the way back up. Let's just focus on ourselves, see if we can find Earthen Vessel, maybe a few other ways to discard energy.
And a big card would definitely be finding a Curlia in this spot. It makes sure that this Ralts is not going to be the target of a 90 damage Flame Body Cannon target on the bench. And still, these energy cards just really not showing up. Does find 2, but there's no Ultra Ball, no Earthen Vessel to discard. So with no potential of an attack outside of, you know, collect from the Ralts, what is your positioning play here? Because it does not seem like a great idea to just hand this Fezandipiti to your opponent.
Right. You don't want to give up those prize cards. Every other Pokemon you'd promote in this spot is knocked out, either the Gardevoird by the Ends Reshiram or everything else from Dark Weakness and Flame Body Cannon. So there's not a great answer here. You're going to lose some prize cards, but what can you do? You have to focus on what you can do next turn, and it's probably Night Stretchers and drawing a lot of different resources.
He didn't even find a Curlia, and the big issue is Boss's Orders on Liam's side will put Neo in an even tougher spot, right? Just burn through that rare candy, and I have to wonder how Neo started this turn off. Really just needed a little bit more, and I'm not sure something like the Frillish is going to cut it. Instead, going for the Monkey Dory. We'll see where he decides to commit this energy attachment, because again, there's a good chance Gardevoird EX is wiped off the board this turn.
Yeah, there were a few other Pokemon in hand, like the Screamtail, if you'd rather have that Pokemon in the active spot. Just a simple retreat with a Psychic Energy and promote some other Pokemon. Just depends on what he values the least, and you have plenty of copies of Monkey Dory, so this is where he feels safest.
No Psychic Embrace, just 1 energy in the discard pile, and immediately Liam already has that Boss's Orders. I've got to imagine that's definitely a solid supporter to use per turn. See the Power Glass get committed to the Zoroark, so who knows here, Kyle? Could signal something down the line. It looks like is going to hold off a bit as it stands and potentially lean into a Flame Body Cannon. What it will target, though, that's a different question.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Could go aggressive, but this is what we've seen from Liam so often, is wants to take that safer approach and has a really big setup. And it almost feels like you're not using the deck correctly if you don't get off at least 1 counter catcher at some point in this game.
Can still capitalize off the extra 2 cards from that Lily since he is at 6 prize cards remaining, and we have not even seen the trades be used. So Liam is going to end his turn here with an additional 3 cards positive in hand. Just going to go ahead and filter through. We don't need that Zoroark anymore. We've got 3 set up. I think that's more than enough in this spot. And what this is also doing is an active thing in the Pokemon TCG is getting rid of bad cards, and there's so much value to just making sure your deck is always filled with cards you want to see.
Well, from this point, Ethan, do you feel comfortable with just taking the Pheasantipity off the board? If you have these 3 prize cards from Liam, you've already got a Zoroark ready to go. You're saving that boss's orders that could target a Gardevoird on a further turn. Maybe it's just time to take these prizes and see if we can get there.
Yeah, I mean, how does your opponent ever come back from this spot realistically in terms of aggression? They would need to take a 2-prize knockout this turn, and Liam is threatening game in 2 turns regardless. Doesn't even need to find a boss's orders this turn, just needs boss at some point in the game. Whether it KOs the Gardevoird now or later, Zoroark is knocking out anything in the active spot outside of that Lily's Clefairy. So that may be the only answer here for Neo, is to try and hit in with a Lily's Clefairy and hope that it can hang on for a little bit. However, if you're swinging into Zoroark, you're ready for a Vengeful Flame to just KO you back, or rather, a Powerful Rage.
Well, maybe desperation mode for Neo at this point then, trying to thin down, avoid some of these resources from Liam, but he took precautions against this, saved a boss's orders, threw away 3 other cards with trade, and he's thinning his deck down as he goes. Yes, he only has 3 cards to work with, but 7 more will be seen next turn.
Neo finally does draw into these energy cards. Earthen Vessel plus Psychic Energy, there's a Dark Energy in the hand, Ultra Ball, so we can thin a little bit, but Pheasantipity was just lost due to it being KO'd, so it is in the discard pile. There's really not a great target here for Ultra Ball. And that kind of makes me wonder, you know, what is the end of turn game plan? It seems like every option is just not great in this spot.
Yeah, all the options that I'm running through in my mind just don't add up. There's Screamtail to try to take down some of these Pokemon that you see the end Zoroark copying. But you also have Monkey Dory, and you potentially could sneak in that Confusion, but it just doesn't do nearly as much. You know that Liam has so many resources to get out of those spots.
It's got to be targeting one of these Pokemon, I feel. Either the Reshiram or the Darmanitan, just taking away a copy attacker. And maybe it is that Darmanitan. What are your thoughts on getting rid of that?
Well, if you use Screamtail, then I think you should go after the End's Reshiram, just because there's no direct knockout lined up on the bench, given that Kirlia just evolved. But it still doesn't feel great because you know how easy it is for that Pokemon to come right back into play.
Screamtail will be the attacker of choice. Gardevoird retreats thanks to that Psychic Embrace ability, as it is used again, and you can be using it as often as you'd like. It is just going to be the 6 damage counters placed thanks to 3 Psychic Embrace abilities, and question number 2 becomes, where are you putting this Adrenal Brain damage? Most likely on the Pokemon being knocked out, and it will be Darmanitan being KO'd. So no Flame Body Cannon, meaning if Liam does want to take 2 prize cards this turn, it will require a boss's orders to do so.
All right. With the Kirlia played down, certainly we could see another Gardevoird, but Liam has the answer number 1 already in hand. Boss's orders could clean up this Gardevoird and take 2 more prizes. Still missing the energy to get the job done there.
There is a Night Stretcher that would be able to take care of it. We did get that 1 energy back thanks to the hidden MVP Power Glass the previous turn.
Yeah.
Thanks to that effect allowing you to accelerate energy. As Pheasantipity comes down, Liam is willing to put this liability into play because he understands all he needs to do is just push his aggression in the spot. If he doesn't fall behind, there's no way he's getting caught.
I mean, this is a massive situation here for Liam now. So many ways to draw cards, so many resources to see now. Finds the energy, so doesn't have to even go further with the Night Stretcher. Has an End's Reshiram for the next turn if it were to be targeted. Just has all of the answers sorted.
And just using that boss's orders, bringing up the Gardevoird EX. And that means as long as Liam can just attack next turn into anything that's not a Lily's Clefairy, he will be able to win this game. Understands that draw supporters are just not needed because he gets a guaranteed 7-card draw next turn. Flood the deck back with boss's orders, notably after you've used all your abilities. This sequencing's so smart here for Liam.
I am the draw supporter. I don't need your help. Boss's orders thrown into the deck once more. He's thinned down so well. He copies the right attack. He's taking the KO, and he's down to 1 prize card remaining.
And you see how fast this matchup can spiral out of control for Gardevoird. It can definitely keep afloat. It's got the Drifloon, it has the tools necessary to make it happen, but it just cannot afford to miss a beat, especially when Liam's deck is just smooth as butter, hitting every turn it needs to do, and really finding its way.
Yeah, just a lot going against Neo at this point. And with the speed that we saw the Darmanitan in this game, it just puts pressure on that you're not used to as a Gardevoird player. We didn't see those evolutions coming out early and often, so instead now, just 1 prize card remaining. You need to stick a lot of hit points in the active spot, but also, is anything going to get through an End Zoroark? It has to be a KO on Reshiram, and it has to be an Iono.
The KOing Reshiram would put Neo at even prize cards, which, you know, does map out some sort of a victory. You can maybe start to use Adrenal Brain and pile some damage onto one of the Zoroarks to KO it later with the Lily's Clefairy, and that is going to be the line. We are still missing a way to buff the HP, as you would be being KO'd by something like a Black Belt on the following turn. He's going to have to play the Research. No other supporter card available, but I'm just not sure if the Bravery Charm was found. And if not, it seems that another option here is just delaying the inevitable, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point where if Screamtail remains active, even takes out the End's Reshiram, we could see Artisan for End's Darmaka take a KO at this point. There's not much that's in Liam's way here.
So does note that Bravery Charm is still in the deck, and there is a secret box. So Neo does have access to grab that card out, and maybe at the cost of discarding a couple resources. That Drifloon can always be put back into the deck with a Super Rod or to the hand with a Night Stretcher. Will be the choice of discard. So we'll see the Bravery Charm grabbed and potentially the counter catcher to stall some Pokemon out, maybe play around, or, like you mentioned, target that Ends Reshiram and force Liam to have a way of bringing that Pokemon back with a way to Gust as well. He's just going to be able to draw so many cards as the issue. Honestly, Kyle can just see his entire deck if he plays his cards right.
And then that was the whole plan from Liam at this point, and he feels even more comfortable knowing that this hand did not get disrupted at all. It was the Professor's research. See the counter catcher. You can pick one of these two. I mean, if you knock out the Reshiram, there's no targetable attacks readily available. But you can also try to stick this Pokemon in the active and maybe lean on a Bravery Charm and some energies. How far can you go, though?
It's tough. He's going to have to use this Night Stretcher to grab Gardevoird. That's going to be the piece missing. It just feels like you've got to swing with the Clefairy. There's too many cards that just win Liam the game on the spot if you don't KO this Reshiram. You lose to an Air Balloon, you lose to a Pecharunt, you lose to even an Energy and an Energy Switch. There's just too many options. So understanding that, going into the Lily's Clefairy, we'll be using 2 Psychic Embrace and then healing that out so it is out of range from a Virtuous Flame, notably just having that 180 HP remaining. However, it is always a risk to leave damage on your opponent's board because of the fact that Monkey Dory can heal it. Liam is not playing 2 like usual, he's just playing the 1 copy. And Neo could definitely be afraid of that in this spot. Going to just use double Adrenabrain, take the KO, leaving no damage on Liam's side. But if he has these pieces here...
Well, there's 9 draws to see a boss's orders or any other combination that gets the job done here. Moving this active Pokemon certainly should do that. Plenty of energy seen, but where is the boss? He shuffled them all in, and he does find it. He's got the answer. Boss's orders, Night Stretcher, copy the Reshiram, take the KO to close out game number 1.
When things go smoothly, it's very hard to stop this Zoroark deck. Gardevoird, definitely a deck that can struggle into this if it does not find the right pieces, and Neo just did not have anything going for him in that first game. Struggled to find the energy cards, struggled to capitalize off that turn with the Technical Machine evolution. Lots of good things to think about as he looks to approach this second game with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more finesse.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how things went down here in our opening game of this match, and it was all Liam all the time. He had a fantastic setup. TM Evolution into multiple Zoroark, immediately evolves into another Zoroark, the Darmanitan, and sees a Lilies, and it just leads to prizes after prizes after prizes. Closes out on a 3-prize KO on a Pheasantipity, then removes the Gardevoird. The last stand here was the Lily's Clefairy, and that is not going to be enough when you see 9 cards a turn.
So Neo on the back foot in this spot. We're down game number 1. You've got 50 minutes plus on the clock, plenty of time to play out 2 games. What's going through your mind as you're shuffling up for game 2 in a matchup that really is not as favorable or suits you well?
Yeah, I mean, you saw no energy. You had a Pheasantipity down and couldn't find any of your other resources. And you still were able to take a prize, see a little bit of what your opponent's deck was. You got all the information. So now take that and see what you can do with it here. Well, well, well. That's a starting Pokemon.
And Mew EX, not what you want to see in this matchup. It's really just another huge liability, as Liam does have 2 Zoroark EX in the prizes. Not great, not what you'd love to see. A couple things hanging out, as well as that 1 copy of Monkey Dory. Who's going to be going first this game and does open with the Buddy Buddy Puffin, so still will open some options next turn to get some Zoroarks into play and start drawing cards.
I'd go as far to say this is a bad set of prize cards for Liam. You can't work too well with this. Sure, you can set up that end Zoroark, but if Neo smells blood in the water, he sees that these Pokemon aren't evolving as quickly as last game, or the board isn't going as wide, maybe he gets aggressive and starts to take out the draw engine.
Let's have the energy for turn committed to the Zorua on the bench. That's all she wrote, passing the turn over to Neo. The Mew EX starter is not great, but does open with Earthen Vessel. So at minimum, getting himself closer towards his goal of getting a bunch of Psychic Energy in the discard pile. I wonder if these draws are a little bit better here for Neo, if he's going to lean more into Drifloon as an attacking option in this matchup. Well,
if you see the energies like he does here, then maybe that helps you out. It's all about finding the Psychic Energies in the discard pile to go aggressive with that Drifloon. You need to hit some pretty high numbers, and it's just not going to happen unless you get those cards there. Unfortunately, I don't know if we saw any other ways to discard past this Vessel.
Taking opportunity, of course, to check the prize cards, see what's available. A very reasonable set, I would say. Of course, having those Ultra Ball prize can be tough, finding those Gardevoird EX late on in the game. The big question is, what supporter is to follow? Does Neo have something like an Arven to grab Secret Box and the Technical Machine Evolution and have that be a potential option? what does the end of this turn look like? Because to be honest, Kyle, if it doesn't look like putting 2 Kirlia into play, is there a realistic way where Neo can easily keep up against Liam's Zoroark deck?
Yeah, we're asking a lot, but maybe Arvin can deliver in this spot. We saw the energies. We know the secret box is there. You can find TM Evolution. You can use the Artisan and a Nest Ball, get out the other alts. We should see all of the Kirlia ready to roll from this point.
None prized, none in the hand from what I believe I saw. Just got to keep 1 Psychic Energy available. The only annoying thing would be that you'd have to use Technical Machine Evolution on the Mew EX, and that may be why he's straying away from using that, as it will actually be fodder of discard for that secret box.
Yeah, I mean, you have rare candies in your deck for a reason. You can always lean on those cards to assist you there. However, you had a chance to get these Pokemon out and protected. You're staring down an opponent who has shown you that they can have turn 2 Darmanitan ready to roll. Now, maybe you don't feel as nervous this time around, being that it was just 1 card played, but this is, oh, well, okay, that's why you play 1 Frillish. You can sneak that in, and maybe the item lock will help.
The Oceanic Gloom, this is just so strong all by itself. You don't need to have the 2 Frillish, you don't need the Gelatin EX. Just slowing down in a spot like this can be so powerful, and now that Liam has shifted away from this Serrano build, is going to be relying a lot more on Technical Machine Evolution to really get himself set up, and there's nothing really going on in the hand, Kyle, at all.
Yeah, I mean, a false sense of security, possibly. And Neo just didn't do anything game 1, but also didn't give up this information. And it seems like Liam potentially was a bit surprised by this Frillish. Not like he got punished or anything by the way that his hand was set up. I don't see the items, but he just didn't have much of anything.
It doesn't even have the Monkey Dory. Let's not forget that card is prized. So this Oceanic Gloom damage is going to slowly start to tick up on the board. Could even take knockouts and start to just put Liam on a clock to top deck out of this situation. Otherwise, Neo can just start attacking only when his board is fully developed and ready to go.
Wow, I mean, he is all in on this Frillish, though. Look at the rest of this hand. He didn't really do too much else. I think he may have just found a top deck supporter, though, to go along with this. I don't know if the Lilies was there before all this.
There or not, it will be played. Shuffling in, drawing 8 cards. And depending on what Neo can find here, we'll have to see if he wants to continue staying slow in this spot or speeding things up. Is there a fine line between both, do you think?
I mean, it just depends on what his hand gives him at this point. If you find a way to speed up this game, maybe you do put on some pressure and try to take out the Zorua. However, right now, you're pretty set with having this Frillish, slowing things down, taking this knockout whenever it shows up for you, and then you can try to start that race with the Drifloons, Bravery Charms into the Zoroarks.
Monkey Dory coming into play off the Artisan. See the Ralts in hand. We'll see a second Ralts hit the board, which does occur. No energy cards, no Kirlia, Rare Candy, Gardevoird, that's not an option. So while Neo has slowed the pace of the game down, and he's not doing much in response, it feels. No board development going on that turn, except for a couple basic Pokemon hitting board.
Okay, well, this was an interesting top deck to see the TM Evolution thrown into the hand now.
Yeah, that attachment of the reversal energy, it does provide 1 colorless energy regardless of which Pokemon it is attached to. So even attached to that Darumaka, it can still use that Technical Machine Evolution attack.
Yeah, worked out very well here. Did not need much else, and will have the evolutions here to get the ball rolling. Just a simple trade, and this is what Neo was trying to avoid. Did not want to see these Pokemon, was hoping the item lock would help avoid it. But for now, he knows exactly what he's staring down.
So it's now Neo who's been put on a clock in this spot. Slowed down time, but it seems that it was for nothing. Didn't really able to capitalize that previous turn with Liam just draw passing, essentially, getting more Pokemon into play. And if these Ralts do not evolve in this spot, there is always the threat of that Flame Body Cannon taking another KO onto 2 Pokemon. You cannot let Zoroark run away with the prize race. You will never get that race back.
And look at this. Just that top deck completely changes the pace of this game. Iono being used against the hand that was previously completely locked out. And for Neo, he needs to find some help here. He's really looking for Rare Candy, and sure enough, he has Rare Candy, Ultra Ball, Earthen Vessel.
Wow.
This whole hand plays.
All the doors now opening up for Neo with Gardevoird EX coming into play, or the potential thereof. The question now becomes, what is your attacker of choice? Adrenabrain would put this Darumaka in range of an Oceanic Gloom KO. Do you continue to just invest in this slow strategy you've developed, or is this the time where you're ready to just put on the gas?
I don't dislike a play where maybe you have that Gardevoird and then try to take a KO on the active Darumaka with Monkey Dory damage, and then use a Screamtail KO on the Darumaka on the bench, clear both those Pokemon, and then try to work in multiple Drifloon KOs on the Zoroarks. However, that's a few turns ahead. It takes a bit of finesse to get to that point, and we'll see if he even has the time, because Liam will start drawing a lot of resources soon.
There is the Dark Energy Adrenabrain now online. We can see the Mew restart for 2 cards. Is holding onto a supporter card. Does find Dark Energy for the next turn.
Hey.
For a new Monkey Dory, that's always a nice piece to have. We'll check the discard pile. Psychic Energy's not a problem anymore. Now the question becomes, where do you put these energies? The big thing you've got to think about is the potential of Gardevoird EX being KO'd next turn. And does that mean leaving extra energy in play or extra damage in play can be useful? It seems that Neo will just conserve those energies, open up options for him next turn, and use that Oceanic Gloom to take a KO. So while Liam has established these Zoroarks, he's still going to be slightly limited in his total potential this turn because of that item lock.
I think I almost a little more liked an idea where you can take the 20 damage, move it over to the benched Darumaka, and then go double Monkey Dory on the following turn, KO that one, and keep the Oceanic Gloom in play with the double attack into the active. However, you do run into some situations where the Darmanitan surprises you. If this Pokemon moves out of the active, then the attacks start flowing, and Liam is pretty close at this point. He already has the Ends Reshiram, just needs an energy to take a knockout here. He's going to start drawing through.
Will be capped at those 2 trait abilities this game, though, because of that Zoroark EX, 2 copies rather, being in the prize cards. So not as much dig as we saw the first game. Those extra traits every turn really putting in a lot of value to thin out the deck.
Ooh, but does see the Dark Energy and a Pheasantipity in hand, so
wow.
Will continue to draw up, and these are some nasty resources. Finds Boss's Orders to go along with this.
So this is the question now, what do you go after this turn? Is it a hopeful find of the Darumaka, the Darmanitan? It looks like no Darmanitan found. Pretty difficult when you're not using TM Evolution and cannot play that 1 copy of Ultra Ball.
Well, you have Boss's Orders. I think you just take this Gardevoird off the board with the Air Balloon on the Reshiram, really thinking ahead too. Just does not want to run into a spot where that counter catcher Frillish slows him down. Liam takes 2 massive prize cards here too. Both Pokemon already waiting to be evolved on the board. This is everything he wanted.
And the question then becomes, how worth it was putting Gardevoird EX into play that turn? We burnt a rare candy Gardevoird, and it was for what? Just to put an extra 3 damage counters in play. Now Liam has the prize lead. He's up 4-5, and there's a very solid chance here that Neo is not going to be able to do anything but just item lock for 20, and that's going to be it. Mew EX is also a huge liability still on the bench.
Yeah, these prize cards will forever be there for Liam. It's hard to move this Pokemon if you're Neo. At just the 1 copy of Turo, and that's in a world where you're already seeing a lot of resources, have a pretty big hand to work with. It's just 5 cards now. Does have a choice between Lilies and Iono. Seems like every time we make a choice, it's not working out, though.
And now that Lilies is going to have even less value because of that prize card being taken. Sometimes trying to get ahead in the race is how you fall behind. It can work both ways. Zoroark, just such a tricky deck, really showing how it can just manipulate the prizes, be aggressive when it wants to, spread damage when it doesn't. And now look at this board here for Liam. He's protected. He's got the Pheasantipity, all of these Zoroarks into play. And no matter how Neo searches this out, if he cannot get Rare Candy Gardevoird again into play this turn, I fear he's going to fall too far behind.
Well, as Neo, then, it seems like your options are pretty limited. With the Ultra Ball, you can evolve into Kirlia here. You have Artisan to thin out, find that Ralts if you want to add it to the board. And then from there, I think you're just using the Iono, even though it doesn't feel great. And you use the Monkey Dory, put some confusion into play, and hopefully Liam does not have the energies to turn around and attack with a new Zoroark.
Just so many ways to potentially pivot. Liam did add the Turo to this deck last minute. With the bench being full, we know we talked about bench management in a sense. There is no room for Pecharunt. Liam has already burnt that air balloon. It is on the Reshiram. There is a copy of End's Castle in this deck, however. Liam playing a really interesting split of 3 different stadiums in this deck. Really talks about his visions and creativity for the Zoroark deck.
Yeah, when you draw as many cards as Liam does, you can afford to include these one-of copies of just about everything. We see the energy, so Monkey Dory attack is possible. Frillish doesn't seem great. I don't know what else really gets you back in this, but we do see the counter catcher. So let's hold off and think about some other ways to slow this game down.
Problem is every single Pokemon outside of the Pheasantipity, which has a 1 retreat cost, can easily pivot out if there's something, again, like that End's Castle or even Professor Turo scenario. Liam, I believe, didn't show the End's Castle the previous game, so Neo, you know, the biggest disadvantage you have as a Gardevoird player against a rogue-ish deck like Zoroark is not knowing card counts. Liam never really plays the same 60. He's always mixing it up, always playing new innovations, and it looks like it's actually going to be an item lock angle yet again.
Ethan,
we don't need as many energy, Frillish.
Ethan, there's a Turo in hand.
Oh, no.
There's just no way around this.
Not even going to draw cards right away. Just going to show I have it off the Iono myself.
Flex on him, okay? You're in top 16. You're working your way through one of your favorite matchups. He will draw cards later.
Too excited. He couldn't wait. He just had to play the Turo down and show them. That's some swagger right there.
What if it's just strictly correct because he wants to thin down with Artisan?
Oh my gosh.
Maybe he's just on another level.
He's a little bit built different, I would say. That's pretty fair. So then the question now becomes, Do you need to rebench Darumaka? Can you just prevent a stalling situation with the Petron in this slot, or is that Flame Body Cannon still just so powerful here?
And you're drawing 7 cards a turn. I think if you limit the amount of Pokemon that could be stalled upon, then that helps you, but you know that you have the castle and your opponent probably doesn't have that information, so I don't dislike having that Pokemon in play.
There's always the option to just leave it open this turn. Maybe that's kind of the best balance of both worlds. Nope, doesn't agree. Darumaka comes back down. He went a little bit of journey in and out. And now we are going to see the Virtuous Flame being copied with the Zoroark, taking another prize card. Does find another Zoroark EX. There was one put to the bottom of the deck with the Iono the turn before. So now Liam having access to another of that card. And while Kirlia was put into play last turn and Gardevoird can come down, it again begs the question, is it too little too late with there being the Mew EX in play and any Pokemon being knocked out to a big Virtuous Flame? What can you really do to stop Liam from routing a victory in 2 turns?
I was fairly comfortable the Drifloon was in the discard pile, and I think we just saw it flash there from Liam, but the Bravery Charm is in hand. There is a supporter with that Iono as well, so few nice cards to have, but just the order of operations not there. Maybe restart for 1 and try to hit a Night Stretcher just to have that resource and use the Bravery Charm.
Liam now thinking about which Pokemon to bring up. You see him very hesitant to bring up the Reshiram, just wants to make sure he's not missing something. You know, it's already got Free Retreat. If it gets KO'd, you'll still have the Darmanitan on the bench. That's always a potential option. And we haven't seen an excessive discard of the Night Stretcher. So Liam just wants to make sure when you're in a commanding spot like this, you're not throwing games when you otherwise would have things pretty much locked up.
Well, from here, there's not much else that Neo can really do to disrupt his opponent. You've used Iron Bundle, you've moved his Pokemon. It's still a Free Retreater sitting in the active spot now, and there's not an answer readily available. It has to be Iono into the Gardevoird play, maybe a restart for 1 to try to see if you can find a little more help here.
It is a Super Rod.
Okay.
So Gardevoird EX can be brought back into the deck alongside that Drifloon, which we saw get discarded early on.
This is the game where if you Super Rod the Gardevoird, then you find Night Stretcher instead, right?
Well, the other issue, too, is we used Iron Bundle, so that Drifloon one-hit KO potential is no longer there.
Right.
So now the question becomes, what is the play? You've got an undesirable Pokemon and a KO in the active. If you do it with Gardevoird, you're setting your opponent up to just win the game in 2 turns. Doesn't even need double boss. So what will this situation look like? Does find the Gardevoird that was still remaining in the deck off of the Iono to 5. Liam put down to just 3 cards. The big question, though, still remaining. What do you attack with this turn that's going to get you back in the second game?
And what do you attack into? If it's Screen Tail, the removal of Darumaka doesn't do anything. I don't know if you can get to any relevant numbers that would impact a Pheasantipity at this point, and you need to draw some prizes here pretty soon if you want to have any chance.
With the Psychic Embrace to the active Gardevoird EX. So now Neo can pivot into another Pokemon. You got to kind of slowly go through the options. All right, copying the Reshiram with Mew, never happening. Kirlia, never coming up. Monkey Dory, doesn't do anything. So by process of elimination, the Scream Tail will be the choice, and now it becomes the question again. You are essentially sacrificing another prize card here. You know Liam's going to go down to 2 prizes, and with having 2 EX Pokemon in play that both are KO'd by Zoroark, you're not going to be able to avoid boss's orders, winning your opponent the game. So with that in mind, what gives you the best shot of your opponent not finding that card seems to be the thought process here for Neo.
Yeah, and for Neo, if it were to involve taking away the attackers, we wouldn't have seen that Iron Bundle. So instead, maybe this is just an angle where you clear off the end's Pokemon and then try to take those big KOs at the end. If there's nothing really else to target at this point, then what does Liam attack with here?
It's going to be Darumaka being targeted again. But yet again, the problem still exists. Liam can go down to 2 prize cards guaranteed this turn and just play boss's orders next to win. So this turn here for Liam's going to just draw a bunch of cards, has triple trade now available, flip the script, and importantly, we'll see how well he thins his deck out of cards that are just not boss's orders and energy, since that is all he really needs to make things happen, and just going absolutely rapid fire with these trades.
Oh, I don't know if we've seen it just yet, but he does have energy, can take a knockout at this point against the Scream Tail. He's going to see, I don't even know if he can see another card at this stage, but
does have another Zoroark EX in hand, I believe. Was taking off the prize cards, maybe considering not putting that Pokemon into play since it can be trapped. Liam just thinking really heads up in this spot.
Yeah, and this is another just great place. Just play more cards so that the next time that you have these resources and draw through, you have a better chance to find boss's orders. He does not have the Pal Pad this time around. That is stuck at the top of the prize cards. I'm sure that would be a welcome find for him, but he will see boss's orders most likely after this next knockout, which is probably game-ending because Neo needs to find yet another Iono if he wants to prevent that.
Yeah, simple statistics, right? 66% chance that he's going to find 1 of 2 cards that gets him closer to boss's orders. So having that knowledge means, you know, with a very good prize draw, you can just afford to wait to build up this big hand because you want those boss's orders potentially in the deck. Does find it off the prizes. So as things stand, Liam just 2 prize cards away from advancing into a top 8 cut at another regional championship this season. His action is back on Neo, facing the music, facing the lights, with 4 prize cards to take at a huge disadvantage, and there's just so much Liam is threatening on the following turn, even re-establishing that Darumaka again.
It's just been an uphill climb. The only thing that you can really do at this point is try to find that Iono. You have Pheasantipity. You can make a giant Drifloon, stick a single prize Pokemon in the active, and just hold on for dear life. Hopefully, Liam does not have an answer to take a 2-prize KO, and then maybe you can rinse and repeat with that Drifloon once more.
It's just considering if there's the available space to put this Pheasantipity into play. You'd only have 1 spot remaining. It's just considering the options. There is a Bravery Charm and the Lily's Clefairy. And with this Lily's Clefairy being grabbed, it does mean if another Monkey Dory is put into play, double Adrenabrain plus a Full Moon Rondo would be able to KO this active Zoroark EX without leaving damage counters in play outside of that 20 from the Pheasantipity. That could be the potential of what Nia was thinking about. Also, maybe eyeing up this Screamtail. The problem is you can't have best of both worlds. The bench management's going to be really tough, especially with Liam being only at 2 prize cards left.
Yeah, and there's just no other copies of Iono left at this point. There's so few resources to cling on to. He has really been burning through, and this is nearly a deck out at this point. Just 3 or 4 cards remaining.
Is there another Monkey Dory plus Dark Energy? That would be able to knock out the Pheasantipity on the bench. As it stands right now, that is also potential. We see Dark Energy in the prizes, so if there is one in the deck, that could potentially be there. Looks like the last one is in the discard pile, so if there is a Night Stretcher plus a way to search out Monkey Dory, but looks like not. I mean, we'll see the attachment from hand in the retreat.
Yeah, manual attachment here onto the Gardevoird. Basically locks out any of those plays, has to give up on that line, and now moves into the Screamtail. Is there any world where you can set up for that 2-prize attack? I mean, you might just have to attack into the Fez for not knockout at this stage and accept that maybe Monkey Dory can clean it up for you later on.
We'll see the Screamtail come in and do its best. Its almightiest 5 Psychic Embrace abilities used. See that Screamtail go up to 100 damage on itself, 10 damage counters. So with the Monkey Dory, we could see Pheasantipity fall. But Liam is just sitting on exactly what he needs. He's got the boss's orders in hand off the prize cards. There was no disruption played. Pheasantipity will come down, but it's to no avail. Boss's orders, Liam Halliburton, in swift succession, wins these 2 games and advances into the top 8.
Yep, nothing left to do but smile and sign the slip for both of these players. That was a pretty tough game for Neo. Just not much that he can really do into that match. And I mean, credit to Liam. He understands the matchup so well. He did change his deck list up a little bit, but he was able to completely show a different side of this Zoroark deck, and it seems like it's just as good against Gardevoird.